How's it going, Mathaholics? Today we're going to be writing linear equations from a table. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and put our slope-intercept form down on our paper. We know that m equals slope, and we know that b equals y-intercept. Okay, so what do we do now? Let's find our slope. We know that there's a couple ways of doing it. I like to show different methods just so you find the one that works best for you and you can just stick with that one. Today I'm going to count our rise over run. So slope is rise over run, which is the same thing as y over x. Let's see what we get. From -6 to -4 we increase by 2. -4 to -2 we increase by 2. From -2 to 0 that's +2 and +2 as well. So we know that our y is going to be a +2. Okay, what else do we need to do? Now we just need to see what we get for our x coordinates. From -2 to -1, we increase by 1. -1 to 0, we also increase by 1. These are all going to be +1. So our slope is 2 over 1, which is the exact same thing as just 2. Now if we look over here, we know that m equals slope. So we can delete this m here and just put our slope in there instead. Delete that m, and let's just put our 2. And now we just need to find what our b is going to equal. So let me show you something really quick, which might make it a little easier for us to understand how to do this. Let's say this is our graph, and this line right here is our line on the graph. Where would be our y-intercept? Our y-intercept is right here because that is where the line hits the y-axis. We know that's at 0, comma something. We'll just say that's 0, comma 3. We would say that the y-intercept is at 0, comma 3. Our x-coordinate is clearly 0. So what do we know about, what does that information tell us? That tells us that our y-intercept is wherever x is 0. So let's look on our x-axis, on our x, the row that gives us our x coordinates. Where is 0? It's right here. And then what is our y point when x is 0? -2. So that's how we know what our y-intercept is. And knowing that b gives us the y-intercept, we can just delete this b over here and put a -2 instead. And that's all we have to do. Now let's move on to the next example. It's taking me a minute. There we go. There's a couple ways we can find slope. Like I said earlier, I like to show different ways just so we know till we find the one that we like personally. Let's pretend this is our y1, this is our y2, and this is x1, and this is our x2. Okay, now we do our formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, you don't have to do this. If you prefer to just count how we did in the previous example, you can do that, but whatever way you like best. y2 is 0. Whoops. y2 is 0 minus y1, which is -2, minus -2 over x2 minus x1. x2 is -2, and x1 is -4 minus -4. Let's go ahead and see what we get. 0 minus -2, that's the same thing as 0 plus 2, which gives us 2. And then -2 minus -4 is the same thing as -2 plus 4, which gives us 2. And 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1. So we know our slope is just going to be 1. Now, like I said, you don't have to do it this way. It's just a different way of doing it. You could also do the counting method that we did in the previous example. Let's see how we would do that. From -2 to 0, +2, 0 to 2, +2. These are all +2. Now let's look at the top. From -4 to -2, +2, -2 to 0, +2, +2, +2. 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. I just like showing you different methods in case your teacher prefers you do it one way or another, or if you just want to do it one way over the other. So we know our m, our slope, equals 1. Let's go ahead and put that in here. Okay, now we need to find our b. Like I said, wherever our x-coordinate is 0, we're going to find our y-intercept. So we just plug these new points in. Y equals 1. You don't need the 1 in there, but it just for the sake of practice, basically. 1x plus 2. And if you don't want to have the the 1 in there, go ahead and get rid of it. And this would be our answer. Y equals x plus 2, and we just box that in. That's really how easy it is. Now let's look at this last one. This one's a little different, so I recommend you pay attention. Let's write down our y equals mx plus b. Let's find our slope. I like the counting method a little better, so we're going to go ahead and do that. From 1 to 4, plus 3, 4 to 7, plus 3, 7 to 10, plus 3, 10 to 13, plus 3. 1 to 2, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So we see our slope is 3 over 1, which is the same thing as 3. Let's get rid of this m and replace it with 3. And now for b, where do we see that x is 0? Nowhere. So do we have a b? Let's see. Well, the short answer to that question is going to be yes, but let me show you why. Once again, let's draw a little graph here. The first point we see is at 1, 1. So let's go ahead, approximately 1 and 1, we'll say that's here. 2 and 4, we'll say that's here. 3 and 7, maybe up here. Now, what do we know about a line? We know that a line goes on forever. So if a line goes on forever, there's a possibility that there's going to be a y-intercept. Now, what else do we notice about this table? It's increasing by 3 in the y-axis, right? So, and now here in the x-axis, it's increasing by 1. So how do we get to this 0 point? We just need to subtract 1. Let's put a 0 in here. Because we know the line goes on forever, so it has to have an x equals 0 somewhere. And then we know that these are increasing by 3 over here. So what number would we put here that is 3 less than 1? We would just have a -2. And that does not look like a -2 at all. -2. There we go. So now we know that our y-intercept is going to be at -2 this time. So we can delete this b and just put a -2 in there. And that's it. I hope you learned something from this video.